from Colorado. I'm on retreat, and I've been wanting to make this recording for a while, so I'm doing it today. Apologize for the mountain look, but that's what I got going on today. I'm going to talk about my automatic donor statistics that I use. I'm really happy with them. I've shared them for a while, but I've never actually shown them in action, so I'm going to do that today. Let me make this uh, screen share icon smaller. All right, so here we are on my personal contact page. I'm only going to show you examples that I can do that without exposing personal information of other people. And we're going to scroll down. I actually have my donor statistics all grouped together into a little lightning component. And you can see that my first household gift was 2010, my last house gift was 2019, last household gift 25. And these are fields provided by the NPSP standard package. You can use them out of the box, or you can configure them to suit you. But what I've done is I've combined standard NPSP rollups in new ways to get data that's more interesting at least a small nonprofit like mine. We are account based, meaning households and organizations give on a recurring basis. We're not funded by fee for service or one-time donors. We're funded by cultivated, sustaining donors, and so it's very important that we understand what's going on there with our very small fundraising team. So what I've done is, for example, here you can probably pretty easily see how we could come up with longevity in months. That's just first gift minus last gift date. And NPSP tells me that I've given $18,000 over my lifetime of giving, and you can pretty easily understand how we might take total gifts and total number of months that you've given and come up with how much you give per month on average, which can be very quickly converted into how much you give every year on average, which is what this number right here is. Household annual giving power, $2,284. That's just a number that's calculated from the NPSP roll-up statistics. I didn't enter it. It's automatic. If I suddenly give less, it will go down. If I suddenly give a lot more, it will go up. And you can also imagine, based on the total number of gifts, which is 89 right there, you can calculate how frequently I give. Since we know when I started, when I ended, I've given 97 months and I've given 89 times. So you can see that I'm a little bit more than I'm a little bit slower than a monthly donor. And so the number of days or whatever is calculated, and then we bucket that in a formula field, and we call me a monthly donor. And you can have quarterly donors, annual donors, biannual donors, one-time donors, and slow donors in my formula field. But and again, this is automatic. It's not paying attention to whether you gave this year or last year. It's just paying attention to how frequently do you give when you give. All right, and so that's kind of the statistics. And I think it's very powerful, even the way it is. And then there's one sort of predictive element. Using the same amount of data, since I know how frequently I give and I know the last date that I gave, we can sort of establish a freshness date, look into the future. I call it the current until date, and it's the last gift date plus the average number of days between donations. So if you have an annual giver and they give in June of last year, then they're still current until June of this year. And if in this case, I'm a monthly donor, and so if I haven't given in the last 30 days, I probably am not current. And it turns out I'm current until February 21st, 2019. So on average, the ministry can expect me to make another donation in the next few days. And if I do, it will push that freshness date out again into the future. So that's what's going on. If this is interesting to you, um, you can go to mightyforce.org and you can go to our blog section and you can search for this article called Automatic Donor Statistics. And it just walks through a little bit of what I've done. And then there's a link to a Google document that describes the fields in great detail. There's some conditions on using them that I ask you to abide by. It kind of sets up the use case, talks about some limitations, and then it actually gives the formula field formulas for the account. Okay, so if you've made it this far, you're interested. Let me show you a couple of other accounts where this is in use. Let me go to an account that is a recurring donation account. It doesn't work just on account households; it also works on accounts. So this is a consumer perks giving source. People sign up on Amazon, to give half a percentage of their purchases, and since this is an account, you can actually directly see the giving. You can see that it started in 2014 and it's been going up a little bit every year. That's great. And if we scroll down here to the donation information, we can see that this has been going on for 4.2 years. We can see that this account is a quarterly donor. They pay out every quarter. We can see, where's the household giving? The household giving number is actually up here. Where is it? Sorry, their annual giving power is $112, and you can even take what they've given this year from the annual giving power and kind of calculate how much is remaining. And in this case, nothing's been given this year, so all $112 remains as a possibility on average. So that's kind of what you get, and and let me show you another account just so you can see some of the drawbacks or power. So this is a quarterly account, and it's actually not current. This Amazon, we're waiting on the check. Perhaps it's already been deposited by bank transfer, and we just haven't pulled it over from our banking statement into Salesforce yet. But this account is actually out of currency right now. Now I'm going to go to another account. This one is a grant foundation. They are a startup capital fund for nonprofits. So they anticipate only donating to you one time. And so the first gift amount was $20,000, and that's probably the only gift they're ever going to give us. They are classified by these formulas as a one-time donor. And the current until date is calculated a little bit different for a one-time or a two-time donor. It's just 6 months out into the future. So we figure if they haven't returned to give by then and establish a pattern, then they're probably not going to. So this account is also no longer current. July 3rd, 2018, they became non-current. So that gives you some idea what's going on. Let me show you what we can do with it, with this data. Let me go to a dashboard. This is a dashboard I use for monitoring development status. And it uses these statistics in some graphs. And the first thing that I'm going to tell you, you can just sum up and keep count of how many of these accounts are current or not current. And so I can tell that right at this moment, we have 265 households that are current, meaning they've established a giving pattern with us and they have not broken that pattern yet. And I have 22 organizational accounts that are current. What's more, I can sum up the household annual giving power of those households that are current, and I know that it's $153,000. And more than that, I can group them by their donor frequency automatic calculation, and I can see that we have 73 $74,000 worth of annual gifts from current households that we can sort of expect this year. And I can see that we are going to have about $44,000 worth of monthly gifts that we can expect this year. And I can see $61,000 from organizations, and so I can actually add those two together, 61 and 153, and I can know that we've got about $214,000 worth of known giving power that we can sort of count on average this year. And since our budget is 400, that means I've got another 190 that I need to focus on in fundraising and development. So that gives you just gives you a census of who your donors are, and it doesn't rely on this year or last year, Libent or Cybent or reports, which kind of turn over at the beginning of the year and become not so useful, in my opinion, at the beginning of the year. So these are always useful and always growing. And I can remember when this number was 100 and now it's 265, and we'll just keep going. So that's kind of the census. The second column on this dashboard is graphing the household annual giving power against different dates or using different filters. The first one is about new account acquisition. As a development team, we do focus on finding new donors, and we want to know how much they're capable of giving. And yes, I have no problem enriching my data with some wealth data, but that doesn't mean they're going to give that to us. After they've given 2 or 3 times, we're going to use the statistics that the donor is telling us by their very gifts to figure out what they're capable of giving. And so you can see that on many years lately, we are able to add about $70,000 worth of new giving power per year. And that's the household annual giving power graphed against the first gift date. And these lines are always going to be the same, except that a donor can increase or decrease their household giving amount by their new giving patterns. And so the graphs can go up and down, but a donor's giving power is going to always remain fixed on the particular date that they gave their first gift. Now, we do pay also attention, like everyone, to retaining gifts. And so this is the very same graph as above, except filtered to people who have given to us at least 3 times. So you can see that even though we might attract $70,000 in gifts, it's rare that we retain more than about 40,000 of it. And so again, this lets us focus on just those accounts with a small team that need to be focused on. And I'm going to show you the most horrifying graph of all. It is lapsed giving power. And so this is the same number, household annual giving power, but now it's graphed against current until date. So my household giving power is actually included on this lapsed giving power date chart, and my 2,000 whatever dollars a year is graphed against February of this year, because that's when I became not, or I'm sorry, January of this year, because that's when I became not current. And so what we're looking at here is donors that have lapsed in their giving pattern and how much they add up to. And you can see that in a typical year, as horrifying a thought as it may be, we have about $40,000 or $50,000 of giving power that lapses by the end of the year. And some of that is the cool thing about this is you can change the shape of this graph by applying work. If you can get back in mind of the donor and get them to give again, they will completely disappear off this graph because they'll be current longer and won't be lapsed at all. And so this graph you still have hope of doing something about. The big spikes are when we lose big donors who gave one time, like that the glimmer of hope intends to only give to us once. I intend to convince them to do otherwise, but they intend to only give to us once. So they're a $20,000 loss on this chart last July. And so that, they will be on this blue line. They're that big spike right there on that blue line. And, unless we can convince them to give to us again, then, that's going to remain a fact for a long time. But when we do, they'll disappear on this graph. But obviously, there can be a lot of focus on looking at the actual report that generates this graph and looking at the names of the accounts and deciding should we put some focus on bringing our organization into top of mind for that particular organization or person and ask and see if we can't get another gift from them. So I think these donor statistics that are automatic are perfect for a nonprofit that is quite small. We have, essentially one part-time development person really, and it's me, and I focus on these charts, and I get some help when I need help, but we can tell what's going on, and we can monitor that we're doing better each and every year, as evidenced, in fact, by this graph over here, which shows household uh, pledged or received gifts each year. And you can see that 2018 was the best year we've ever had in that space. And this is church organizations, and you can see that generally speaking, the lines go up year to year. And non-church organizations, we just finished absolutely the best year we've ever had. And so by allowing the accounts that will take care of themselves to do so, whether they're large or small, and by focusing on the appropriate accounts that are newly acquired or have not yet been retained or have lapsed, we are able to keep these charts looking pretty happy. And I hope that if you're interested in these automatic donation statistics, you will find a way to implement them yourself. I have used them since 2016 and I'm very happy with them. Thanks very much. Uh, Bye.